How goes it today?
Well, I've had my 2 jabs. Ouch and ouch. That's what I'm going to call him a name. Ouch and ouch. Ouch me, ouch.
Right.
That's me. I've had my flu jab and I've had my COVID jab, and everybody's been screaming at me, "Don't, for goodness sake, don't get your COVID jab. You've got to die somehow, haven't you?" Right.
That's up to you, mate. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the 2 wee pricks. Right, who's in? Well, I quite look and see who's in. We've got Mr. E first in the door with Pet, second in the door. Eddie Wolfie. Who else we got? We've got James Connolly, we've got Mad Monk, we've got Alistair Kilpatrick, George Evans, Rebecca McDougall, Lorraine Hay, Eagle Rider, Madam Director, Ewan Guthrie, Indy Scott Bryant, Dexter Smith, Robert T. Bruce, Alistair, Jim Stevens, Julie Brown, Fiona Allen, Pat Bannon, Jordan Beattie, Gary Forbes, Nancy MacGyver, Elizabeth Camper Brown, hi Elizabeth, how's Duisburg a day? Christine Scott, John Poit, Stephen Nichol, T Doc, John Wardrobe, Aki's Mad, Stephen Kelly and Melanie McCann's the first of the Facebookers in. So,
what's the total we've got now, David?
Sorry?
What's the total?
81 on base channels. We'll give a wee minute. Okay. Chain of Freedom's coming up, folks, and this Saturday there's the Edinburgh March. Get the details for the Edinburgh March at All Under One Banners page. And of course, the Chain of Freedom, www.chainoffreedom.scot. Get signed up. It's only 2 weeks to go.
Yep.
Hi, Doug. And of course, the Indy 2 Cafe, if you're in Preston Pans, Wallyford, Musselburgh, Portobello, the East End of Edinburgh, anywhere in Edinburgh actually. The Indy 2 Cafe's got a charity night on the 4th of November at the Premier Inn in Musselburgh.
David, just a wee aside there, right?
Right.
On Friday, with to help out a food bank in a wee bit of a hurry. That was
Saturday, was it no?
Rutherglen and Cambuslang, right?
Right.
But also we had the Indy 2 Cafe that pitched in, and they gave £250, which was very good, right?
Yep.
So, did you manage to contact them at all? Did you manage?
I spoke to the lady on Saturday.
Right. Okay.
So, aye. I did. So, as I say, the Indy 2 Cafe, 4th of November, Musselburgh, Premier Inn, folks. If you're in the east, if you're in that side of Edinburgh, or if you're a member of Yes Group out in Edinburgh, please pass it around. Right, where are we? We're up at 100 mark, David. So, you want to get started?
Yes. Now, what's going on? I mean, it's conference season at the moment, so we decided to start off with the Tory Party conference, which was rather interesting and sort of cover 3 of the main chunks, if you like. What's your take on it, David?
Well, Mr. Sunak at the Scottish Side Committee, or Side Forum, you know, the conferences, there's normally wee side rooms with discussions going on.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Sunak is Daily Blasey calls him our Prime Minister,
Prime Manager.
And Prime Minister, aye, that's it. Anyway, he tells the Scottish Tories that they're going to smash the SNP. when he smashed the SNP. He also boasted that he gave us back an extra 1.8 billion of our own bloody money, and said it was an absolutely generous gesture.
Are you sure it was $1 billion, not $1 million?
No, he said 1.8 billion. And there was the announcement of more interference in evolution.
With the diminutive size of the wee man, I mean, $1 million must look like a lot to him. You know what I mean?
Well, the guy's nearly a billionaire. $1 million doesn't even. An island. That's what he's got in the back of his sofa. Yeah. Anyway, it was also announced that there'll be 20 million given to 7 Scottish towns over the next 10 years. Now, we worked it out. So that's 2 million a year between 7, so it's about £300,000 a year.
Enough to cut the grass.
Just about enough to cut the grass. And that's supposed to be to regenerate these towns. £300,000 a year to regenerate these towns. Mental. Sorry, £300,000 over 2 years to regenerate these towns. Mental. So, but the main thing was that he is going to smash the nationalists. The irony of it that these people don't get it. I mean, there's like Alex Cole-Hamilton and Douglas Ross telling us that Humza will be the last nationalist First Minister of Scotland. What the fuck's a Brit that if no a nationalist?
It's just it's all rhetoric. That's all it is.
Hey.
It's all rhetoric.
A rebate for HS2, field HS2. Funny that. I mean, they're turning to take them into central London to get the HS2 into central London. That's been scrapped because of the cost. And they've already wasted 600 million quid buying up land going from Birmingham to Manchester, which will be sold after Tory donors cheap as hell now because the rail line's not gone that way. But which
remember that if there's any of you Tory donors, right, the mark is 3 million. You have to give the Tory party 3 million. But for that 3 million, you'll end up with a nice big strip of the HS2 countryside.
But I mean, let's face it, this 20 million over 10 years for a start. The Tories will not be there in 10 fucking months, never mind 10 years. And no government coming in is beholden by the one that went out.
Yeah.
It just so happens the one that's coming in has decided it's going to stick to everything the Tories have done. You know? But and of course, one of the key speakers was Alistair Jack, wasn't it? And Alistair Jack tells the Tories that he sees it as his duty to fuck about with devolution and put his jack boots all over everything. And he makes it clear that thrashing 85 million of Scottish public money by scrapping by him forcing the scrapping of the deposit return scheme because Little England can't get its fucking act in gear. He thinks that was worth it. Spaffing 85 million quid of Scottish taxpayers' money up just so he can jump his jack boots all over the place. Anyway, he tells the Tory party conference that he'll be throwing about Section 35 orders like sweeties in the future. You know, so muscular unionism is a big team down that road. And of course, next up is Dougie Ross to tell us that Mr. Humza Yousaf is a much more dangerous proposition than Nicola Sturgeon. Dougie goes on to say, Jesus Christ, Roddy, that's very, very generous of you. Fair character. Yeah, we've got a super sticker, David, for 20 Great British pounds. Thank you very much, Roddy. And we've got a fair character looking at himself in the mirror saying, thanks for being you. Anyway, so where were we? So Dougie goes on to explain that Humza intends to declare independence if he wins the majority of seats, even 31 of these seats. 31 of the seats, which would be enough. So he intends to declare. He says, no, even Nicola would have went that far. She'd have went on votes. What they're basically trying to do is they're trying to rig it so that if no 50.1% of the voting population that turned out have voted the SNP, then it's null and void. But what we've got to remember is if the SNP take 31 of the seats, they'll probably take more, but if they take 31 of the seats, they'll have won the majority of votes. But what they're trying to do is turn that on its head and say, no, it'll be 51% plus.
As we discussed, they'll have won the majority of the votes cast. However, what they are trying to do is they're trying to compare that to the actual population.
Yes.
So that's not 50% 50.1% of the voting population.
Well,
right?
I could get 100% of the voting population turned out in any election.
Well, the most important thing is, if they wish to have it where it's votes cast, then they have to write a letter to the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, you've said that 3 times already, David. You're right. They need to change the way the Westminster system works.
Yes, there you go. And I'll keep saying it until eventually they give up and go home. Dross especially. The other one, I asked them to go home because the Prime Minister, he's there. In actual fact, he would have his voting in January 2025.
I think he's hanging on as long as he could, but it looks like it's going to go in May next year.
Yeah.
But as Dross thing goes on to compare the ferry fiasco with HS2. Now, let's get to this. Right. So far, HS1 has been about 100 billion quid to get to Birmingham, and it's not go to Birmingham yet, but it's a massive undertaking. Right, so at 10% of that's getting battered onto our bill, so that'd be 10 billion for that. And then, of course, we've got this tunnel that's supposed to take the train into central London is no longer going ahead, so there's another 2.2 billion sparked up against the wall. So, and then, of course, there's the 600 million plus the 2.4 million plan for the rail continuation to Birmingham to Manchester. So we're up at 106 billion. 10% of that is 16 billion. It's cost the Scottish. It's going to cost the Scottish taxpayer for a train set that's not going to get fucking built. Whereas a 250 million pound overspend on 2 boats that will get fucking built. I know what one makes better maths to me. You know.
Oh dear. See these boats? Yeah, they've squeezed them for everything they possibly can.
Oh, they're in the paper again at the weekend there, yeah.
And yeah, you look at it and you go, but hang on a second. It doesn't matter how long it takes. They will take to the water and they will be used. Whereas HS1 or HS2 or whatever it's fucking called this week isn't. It's
remember to get your voter ID, people, for the next general election. So if you don't have voter ID, valid driving license, passport, or a seniors rail bus pass, funny how a young person bus pass doesn't work in this case, then contact your local council and get your voter ID authenticity certificate. Okay. So anyway, Dougie's shite. It's quite clear
that's mega important to actually drive home, David. And it's like we're not expecting the people that come on here are going to need that particularly, but we do expect that if you're on here and you're hearing it from us, that you pass it on and you make sure that we Mrs. whoever up the road has got hers, right? Especially if she's an SNP voter. Especially.
Aye. And that's the thing. This Thursday by-election, SNP supporters get your arse out and vote. We've got a super sticker here from Eddie. Thanks very much, Eddie. We've got a pair character jumping up and down saying, "Number 1 fan." Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you very much. Used to go Mark spoke into the boxcar. Oh, I don't know what the hell that means. Anyway, so we Dross, and it's quite clear that the unions are shiting themselves. They're trying to rig the game. You know. And let's move on with West Streeton at the weekend, and Starmer say that they're not going to rescue the NHS down that road. Did they actually the Tory fiscal framework? And we also had West Streeton on Sunday telling us that the Labour are probably going to ditch many of the policy pledges they've made. He says they've set the bar high. When he means he set the bar high, what they're saying is if they can't afford it, they're not going to do it. So basically nothing changes.
Yeah.
You know, because they're going to stick to the Tory party's fiscal rules. You know?
The thing about it is, do we actually need them to actually say the words? They're not. Keir Starmer won't rescue the NHS.
Well, that's because he's interested in private healthcare. This sod.
Yeah, but besides that, he doesn't know how to rescue the NHS. The only way to rescue the NHS, you have to start off with one thing. you've got to get rid of the Health and Social Care Bill 2012. That's it. You've got to pull that out first and put things back to how they were before the Health and Social Care 2012 bill came into effect.
Yes, you would need to, because at this point in time, their health services opened up to the markets.
That's right.
And you're right, Robert, Keir is on course to continue with the privatisation of England's NHS. The guy is a bloody Tory.
Yeah.
I mean, a real Tory. Right, David, as you know, I've been off my dinger about the situation here in North Lanarkshire. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Anyway, North Lanarkshire Tory Council and a Labour-run council to close 39 facilities. Labour and Tory coalition council, actually. Now, this was done without consultation with the public. It was a decision made by a council officer based on data collected on footfall for these facilities for 2020 to 2021 and 2021 to 2022. Now, as we know, 2020 we were on lockdown, so there was no footfall at these places.
Yeah.
And in 2022, they were only just starting to open up again. And a lot of these facilities didn't get up and running until the middle of 2022. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the 2020 or 21 data, a lot of these facilities still weren't up and running.
So what you're saying is a stupid fool from a council wrote down all the footfall, right? And actually presented that to the council, and nobody challenged that person. Is that what you're saying to me?
If they wanted to. Now, the claim is there's no money and that these facilities are not well used. But the PLC North Lanarkshire, which is the ex-SNP group, is basically the big argument, and the SNP split. And they 8 of them formed a new group called Progressive North Lanarkshire. In that council. Now, they've made it quite clear that that on some of these facilities, since they've been opened back up again, the council has been refusing to take bookings and things like that for these places. Thanks, Lorraine. A little bit of good thanks. Thank you very much. And same with you, Hugh. Thank you very much.
I simply cannot imagine that situation. I mean, I'm Western Bartonshire, right? And we've got a leisure facility down the road at the Clyde.
And Brian, thank you.
Can you imagine if they suddenly said, right, that's closed? Well, what about people like me or my wife that we've got memberships in there?
Right.
Paid for it in one go. We actually, at the beginning of the year, we just give them, there's a lump for the two of us, right? And that's it, paid for.
The other thing that's been disclosed by the PLC North Lanarkshire is that apart from not taking bookings, which these halls should be busier, instead of not taking bookings for community groups to use the halls, they've also been shutting and restricting the amount of times that leisure facilities have been open, which is nuts. Now, let's look at the implication of the closing of these 39 facilities, David. Let's start with sports facilities. That's going to be bad for our children's health, mental health, our health, mental health, because we know that exercise is good for us both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Alistair. Now, the other thing we should look at is libraries. The closing of libraries. Where's Granny and community centres? Where's Granny going to go for her warm bank this winter?
Yep, that's right. And there's no subsidy for the electricity or gas bills this year. So therefore, what's going to happen is what happened last year, but much worse.
Yep, and so no warm banks for Granny. Public baths being shut means they were for the homeless guy and to get a shower. You know, there'll be less facilities for people who use toilets.
You have to consider that a swimming pool is sports facilities for the older people.
Yep.
People like me that I've got a problem. It's like I won't go to a gymnasium to do a burn. I'll go to a swimming pool so I can gently go around the outside or whatever. Right?
Aye.
That's really important. It's important for people's mental health, well-being, and all the rest of it. You know.
Let's go back to the library, but apart from the libraries being used as warm banks and a popular place for all people who are doing their day to save money, A lot of the facilities also have wee coffee bars and that in them, you know. But
and also a computer and a broadband link for somebody that's maybe applying for a job or whatever. Because nowadays, as I'm told constantly by my kids, that they can't just wander in and go any jobs and they go. They've actually got to apply in the first instance
but
via the web.
and of course, there's the unemployed who maybe not be able to afford the internet and don't have a computer or access to a computer. Benefits have all got to be applied for online.
Yeah.
So these are lifeline services when it comes to people who don't have the equipment but need to apply for benefits. So it's important that these libraries.
My way of thinking is that councillors don't really think that way, because other councillors with half a brain, they've all got a job, they've all got a day job, and what they do is they do that, and they maybe put their foot inside the door when there's maybe a council meeting or something like that, right?
Charles, you know, I've been talking to your wife about this one, mate. Charles has been running a karate kid, quite a big deal. It's a karate club, quite a big one, and a big hitter in Scottish karate at the Holy Town Community Centre for 50 years. And he's been told, sling your hook, you know.
That's ridiculous. After we get our independence, I'll be put up that the wee sign is, let's get shot at the wee tin gods.
And anyway, Charlie, come in. I'll probably see you.
Hang on, David. Let me finish what I'm saying.
No, I'm not going with your tin pot god shit.
Get rid of the blooming wee tin gods, because as far as I'm concerned, councils are just a business. And it's like the councillors try and turn them into a political blooming shebang, right? So we need rid of that nonsense. And we'll run the councils from a central government department, right? Which means that everybody gets the same crack at the whip. And we'll have aldermen, which are properly employed people, to actually work as housekeepers to make sure
I want to get back and deal with the consequences for the people of Lanarkshire
that you're paying for, right? And as far as I'm concerned, see, when I even look at a blooming railing that's rusty, I think, why can you not get a wee bloke out there with a tin of paint and get that coated? What's the score? We pay for it. Let's get it done. Never mind blooming arguing, playing blooming politics with you fucking wee stupid councils. End of story. Get rid of them. Get rid of them, and we'll have no chief executives and chief executives assistants and all the rest of it, and that'll save a fortune.
Thanks, Joe.
Councillors will save a fortune as well, right?
Right. Anyway, so back to the implications of what they're doing. I mean, the hundreds and hundreds of children, as you say, with Charles there, with his karate club and the gymnastics club, between them 200 kids attend. You know what I mean? And as we know, deprivation rises when there's no facilities for children. Social disorder, if you like. Things like bloody graffiti and all that goes up, smash windows, drinking in the streets, that sort of thing, because kids need something to do. These facilities are very important, as I say, but there is also implications for the poorest amongst us who need to access libraries to get access to benefits and things like that. Granny going to freeze in her bloody flat. But if you're in North Lanarkshire, there's a protest on Thursday at the Civic Centre. You'll get the details on the Save Our Centres North Lanarkshire with a Facebook page, and there's another one on Wednesday the 18th. I'll be attending both. I'll probably stream them.
They should turn up at the front door, excuse me for saying this, and run every single one of the councillors down the road as fast as they can chase them. Seriously. That's people power, and that's the people speaking their mind.
Well, another thing that we found out for the PLC group in the North Lanarkshire Council was that North Lanarkshire's awash with money.
Yeah.
Absolutely awash with money. They just get 9 or 10 billion for the Strathclyde Pension Fund. You know, and you and I spoke about this, David. You said, does this money not go to the people who had pensions? No, they had defined benefit pensions.
Yeah, they've been given fixed contracts, in other words, saying that you will end up with this as a lump sum and that as your pension, or the rest of it. And the moment that's fulfilled, anything that's still inside that pot, just has to get used up somehow. Yeah.
So how it worked was Strathclyde didn't they say they did take contributions from everybody, but Strathclyde tell them what the defined pensions would be, and the council would pay that out. And what Strathclyde does, they took the money for the contributions and invested in three things, mainly three things: tobacco, oil, and armaments. And they made a killing. That pension fund made a killing. So there's more than enough there to pay out everybody's defined pensions. So the councils that used to be part of the Strathclyde region have all been given a nice wee hand up. Yeah. And in the case of North Lanarkshire, it's 9 or 10 billion quid. So there's no excuse for this carry on.
So if it's 9 or 10 billion quid for North Lanarkshire, right? One can imagine that my area, Western Bartonshire, that'll be getting a good chunk. Yes, will it? I don't know. At the end of the day, it's like this is more money than it takes to run the country being given to these councils. So now can we actually turn back on the Labour, Tory and Lib Dem half-wits when they say, oh, the councils are badly underfunded and that SNP and Greens are holding back money that should be going to the councils? Can we all just say to them, get stuffed?
Thanks, Christine. And we want to thank a friend of yours who also threw
David, I asked you a question, mate, right?
Beg your pardon, some competition.
Yeah, right. If that amount of money is coming into North Lanarkshire Council,
yes,
then it means that through all the councils that were attached to that, they should have the amount of money it takes to run the whole of Scotland given to them in one go. Does that not mean that Tories, Labour and Lib Dem, when they say, oh, SNP and Greens, you're not giving money over to the councils, should they not be told to get stuffed?
Council budgets all budgets in Scotland have been slashed, David. Do you know that? And especially last year, the Scottish budget took a hammer, and the Scotland central government took a hammer because of inflation.
North Lanarkshire Council are getting 9 billion B.
They want to stick in the reserves. They've got billions in the reserves anyway.
Yeah. This is what I don't understand. It's why we're letting Labour, Tory and Lib Dem away with saying, oh, the councils are underfunded. No, they're not. They never were.
The central government, they're underfunded.
Yeah.
But truth be told, of course, year on year, the councils get more. Year on year, it's always it depends on the situation with things like the cost of running the facilities and things like that. That depends on things like energy prices, inflation, all that sort of thing. How far your buck goes. As I say, the Scottish budget with the new fiscal framework will be protected against inflation in the future, but it isn't at this point in time. Thanks, Struthers. That's very generous of you.
What gets me is that they have the ability to raise their council tax. Nobody is stopping any one of the councils from doing that. Bad time to do it. However, they have
the council tax up by the maximum they're allowed to, because it's been set at 4.5% by the central government.
Yeah.
But as I say, the councils haven't fought it through. They haven't fought through the damage it's going to do to these communities, the damage it's going to do to the poorest in these communities.
Yes. That's right.
So there's a right stooshy going on here in North Lanarkshire, and I have to say it's a stooshy the SNP's in making when it comes to Labour Tory. Don't get me wrong, when the North Lanarkshire, after the last council elections, the SNP had the most councillors, but the Tories and Labour were getting a coalition to keep them out, right? But then the grouping, the SNP grouping in North Lanarkshire fell to bits over the treatment of the council leader at the time, who allegedly was a wee bit ambitious on trying to press his attentions on some lassie when he was drunk at 19. He apologised to the young lady. She made the fuss about it. The Labour Party brought it up. 10 years later, and all of a sudden, the guy's having to resign for being drunk at a party when he's 19. Who's not been drunk at a party at 19? Wow. He was up attending Dundee University at the time, the boy. Right, anyway, so let's move on, David.
Yeah.
Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election.
Yes.
Now, we see that the language has been changing very, very slowly from the Labour Party. 2 weeks ago, they were confident they were going to win it. And Sarwar was boasting in First Minister that he was going to win it. Nathan, the people in North Lanarkshire actually voted SNP, but the SNP group fell to bits, as I said. Now, what's changed in the last couple of weeks as it's went for the Labour? Sure are winning the Hamilton and the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election to Labour are hopeful of.
To be perfectly honest with you, I think the news about the Labour Party, the Scottish Labour, has now got out that, oh hell, they're not a separate party. They're English Labour with the word Scottish stuck in the front.
Metaphorically, of course. They were talking about SNP, no, we ought to get activists out in the street, which isn't true. But the Labour Party, because Keir Starmer had parachuted in his preferred candidate as opposed to the candidate that the local constituency party wanted, the activists for Labour there haven't been out in the streets at all. So they've had to bust them up to London. So they've been busting them up to London to trot the streets off. And it appears as well that Starmer's been up in the constituency 3 or 4 times, and people are not impressed with him either. Yeah, because people have been asking him, what are you going to do about the NHS? What are you going to do about the cost of living? Nothing. No money. You know what's coming. You know, when the Labour get into office, they'll pick up that traditional wee bit of paper that's always said no money left. It's been done for 30 years. That wee bit of paper being left. No. It's not even a joke. But anyway, Rutherglen and Hamilton West, it would appear Labour are not quite so sure of themselves now. But a lot of that might have to do with people watching what's been going on down that road with U-turn after U-turn and no believing the bloody word that's being said. You know? And there's an article running this morning, one of the newspapers. It's a letter to the newspaper saying the Labour can't be trusted to deliver on anything they're promising on the streets of Hamilton, Rutherglen and Hamilton West. But I mean, once again, the Labour Party are at the scaremongering tactics. You know, they're running about telling people that council taxes in certain bands are going to go up by 22%. You know, there's no such policy. There is a consultation. It's not going to get anywhere. The consultation will make it clear that people are not in favour of this.
We still haven't heard the back end of Sarwar's lies in Holyrood. Reference that, and his lies at the doorstep.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
And thanks very much to everybody who sent an email along with myself to the presiding officer. Got a nice free electronic acknowledgement. I don't know what action she's going to take. I don't know how many people sent an email, but it should be enough to get their bloody attention. Because the man blatantly lied in that parliament. There's no way that he doesn't know it's a consultation and not policy. Which means he blatantly lied in that parliament. By stating the SNP were going to put people's council tax up by £700 odd a year.
Or 22%. 22%. Right, okay, fine. The Rutherglen Hamilton West. When's it going to take place, David? When's the actual
Thursday.
Thursday, right? And what's the advice we've got for people that are taking part in that election? Yeah, okay. But also, will they have to provide any?
They require voter ID. Yes.
Right. And what about the people that haven't received their voter card? What's the advice we give to them?
If you've got voter ID, go on your polling station. You're never on the list.
That's right.
You
do not have to have a voting card, a polling card delivered to you in order to go and vote. If you turn up at your polling station without the polling card that you usually get delivered, that's fine. That's okay. So long as you stand there in front of the people with a list and you go, I'm David Milligan, I'm from number whatever, right? And they go, and they run the wee ruler and run the line across it, right? That's you, you're in. Okay, so there you go. All right.
Billy, we know that people are dying through austerity while we wait. But if you've got a better idea, I keep hearing about all this impatience from people about how we're going to get to independence. So they said, "Fear, no get to independence." They said, "Fear, no." Billy, if you know how to do it without a bloody election, put it in the comments. And apparently we've not to vote because our votes are consent to murder our wains. I don't know what's up. Billy, get a grip. The only way to do this is via the ballot box. We've just spoke about how the unions are crapping it because Humza says he's going to declare. But if you can find a way to get the ballot boxes out quicker, stick it in the comments.
I think we'll just give it a miss. All right. Yeah. Right. Anyway. So that was Rutherglen, Hamilton West. Right. Next one, I think fairly important if you look at the ducking and diving that goes on before we get to a general election.
Well, right, this one for Billy. You're right, Billy. Keir Starmer is going to be the next Prime Minister, or Prime whatever you want to call him. There's a reason for it, Billy. There's more bloody idiots in England than what there is here. There's only 57 seats here. There are 300 odds in England. 400 odds in England. What is it? Between the three devolved nations, we've got 118 seats.
Right, you finished with Billy?
150.
Are you finished with Billy yet? Right.
Okay.
Get on with the show. Right, Jeremy Hunt, no tax breaks for the foreseeable future. What do we say to that one?
I reckon that's him telling everybody they need tax breaks so that in November's fiscal statement, basically the budget, he'll be able to pull a few rabbits by the hat in front of a general election.
We've had a wee look and we've found that we can actually manage to move this money from here to there. No, so therefore, we'll give all you rich buggers a wee extra pot in with your pension. How's about that? Eh? Isn't that lovely? They've been looking at different ways that they can take money off people like you and I, right? In order to actually feed in tax breaks for people that don't need them. The tax should be taken off the rich who have got the broadest shoulders. I'm sorry if you're living in a 6-bedroom house when you actually only need 2, right? And a living room and a toilet. I'll even give you 2 toilets. How's about that? I'm fair like that, right? But you should be paying more tax, right? If you haven't got the money to do that, then it's time to sell up and move down a bit to maybe 4 bedrooms and a living room.
That brings us to another thing that's just come up in the comments here. Rishi Sunak telling Beth Ridgely that or whatever her bloody name is on Sky News that half an inflation is given as a tax break. When he was challenged though, when he was told inflation wasn't a tax, he said, "Aye, it is." No, it's no. Taxes are something that can be controlled by the Chancellor and by the Treasury. Inflation can't be. So inflation is not a tax, Prime Minister. But anyway, Jeremy Hunt's telling on him.
Hang on, David, before you go on to this next point. Do you honestly believe that he doesn't know what he's talking about? He is a man that has been a Chancellor. He is a man that has been an inside trader, for goodness sake, in the Bank of Scotland blooming debacle, right? Yeah. ABN AMRO, Bank of Scotland, remember that? Well, he made £100 million off the back of that. So here's a man. He might be a figure of derision, the prime miniature, as Daily Blaze calls him, right? But he knows what he's talking about when it comes to things like that. He'd screw you over, no problem whatsoever. He knows the game better than any of you, right? So therefore, when he says something like that, why is he saying it?
It's to let the plebs know that there's nothing coming for them, but there'll be rabbits out the hat for the rich, David, as you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll probably see things like inheritance tax and that be scrapped. But inheritance tax only affects the wealthiest 4%.
Yes.
You know? So, as I say, Jeremy Hunt telling us there's not going to be any tax breaks. He's just telling the plebs, you're getting nothing. Watch the tax breaks for the rich.
Yeah. It'll be literally done. It won't be done on midnight before the blooming the polls open. However, it'll be just before that. They'll time it well. They'll time it well so that the message will have time to get through from the Tory Central through to other people that vote Tory.
Aye.
So.
Aye. Right, David, Joseph Rowntree Foundation's been at it again. There's a new poverty, a new report out on poverty. Apparently, 1 million people in Scotland are living in what do you call it, relative poverty. With 250,000 living in what they call deep poverty. You want to tell us the difference between deep poverty and relative poverty?
Can you define relative poverty for us?
Yep, I can. Relative poverty is where you're living on 60% of the average incomes excluding housing costs. Okay,
so deep poverty. What is the definition of
You're
that?
living on 40% of the average income before housing costs.
The actual difference is about, we worked out £4,800 per annum, right?
Yeah.
If you're on 40%, this is before tax, don't forget, all right? Relative poverty would put you on about 14,400 plus, is it £13 per child? Working out, it's £25 per child per week, right?
Aye, yeah, so the Scottish Government uplift.
Whereas on deep poverty, you would be on round about 9,600.
Almost would pay. It's a fifth of the population of Million.
Yeah, and obviously at 9,600, you would not be liable for paying any.
I've got a bigger annual beer budget than that.
I know.
I mean, between me and my two brothers, we must tank about 20 grand a year in beer.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a pensioner, and as a pensioner, I don't reach the.
See, I have an entertainment budget if we want to spend it up to 200 quid a week. That's what we're talking about. People living on that amount of money.
Yeah. That's wonderful, David.
But see, stupidness. Now we worked it out. 24,000 is the average wage here in Scotland.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the minimum wage, people on minimum wage are earning something like 15 grand a year, 16 before tax.
That's right. And just to put that into context, the average wage down in England is around about 28k per year.
Yeah, aye. Depends on in the north or south.
Yeah. But you have to remember that a relatively low number of people in England can pull that up the way very easily because they earn an inordinate amount of money. Yeah,
so we've got 250,000 people living in deep poverty.
Yeah.
And we've got another 250,000 of children who are living in relative poverty in a household where at least one parent is working.
Yes.
And the most affected, the part of the population most affected by deep poverty are ethnic minorities and women, especially single women, who generally are working in the entertainment and hospitality sector, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's my wife, who is a health star. I can't tell you the absolute details, but this is before the energy problem, right?
Yep.
And she knew of a young lass that was up one of the high flats, the real proper high-rise flats, and they had the radiators that are like filled with bricks, and she was on to fill that with 50 quid a week. 50 quid a week. That was before all the nonsense with the energy. What that lassie with that, then she was a young lass with a baby. What she's doing now, I don't know.
Well, this is a good one for Helen, and it was Helen that put us onto the plight of Rutherglen and Cambuslang Food Bank, so thanks, Helen. But try living on 83 a week. Most of that goes on electricity, gas, food.
Yeah.
83 quid a week. Is that what unemployment benefit is?
That's dreadful. It
really is. 83 quid.
Honestly, you cannot live on that. That is game over.
How are you? I'm 45 quid a week in tobacco.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, Jesus Christ. But anyway, the figures in the Joseph Brown Foundation's report, as you know, David, I've been following this stuff for years and it's heartbreaking.
Of course it is.
I thought it was £93 a week the benefits was for a single person.
Now that gives a bit of mass to Rutherglen and Cambuslang Food Bank running out of food and having no money in the bank to replace the food. This is what's happening, guys. You've got to get your head wrapped around this. I swear to you, I thank every one of you that gives a penny.
Universal credit for a month for an adult is £354.
Yes, I know, man. You can't do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I get paid more than that in a week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's frightening. It just shows you when you're not really in the system, you don't really understand it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my ignorance, folks. We knew things were bad, but I just didn't know they were that bad.
Yeah. And somebody that gets the full pension, that means that they've got all of their credits and all the rest.
I mean, you're 50 quid a week after that universal credit. That's 200 quid for electricity before you've even eaten.
Yeah, that's right. But yet again, I'm telling you, the next sort of stage is old age pensioners. They get £815 every 4 weeks. So that's roughly £200 a week. What you just reading out there? 200 quid for what?
Electricity.
Yes.
But 300 a month.
I must take this. I'm going to.
That's all right. You just mute yourself in the David.
Give them that. All right.
I'll just kick him out the now, folks. It just shows you that your kind contributions, folks, going out to these food banks is bloody well even more important now. Now that I've got a big, I read these figures and it doesn't sometimes penetrate my thick skull because it doesn't apply to me very much. Sarah and I have had for hard times, aye. Pension's only £815 a month, Neil. But as I say, Christ Almighty, I think it's time to rethink things down that road because that's a bloody scary one. £354 a month for a single person. Jesus. Oh dear. Oh, tell you what, folks. Oh. Aye, I'll get a wee plug in for that, Tom, because that'll settle me down a wee bit before I go off my bloody dinger here. You follow me, folks, it's called To See Yourselves. Screening in Davies on the 4th of October at the RBC Film Theatre and in Edinburgh on the 30th of October. Now, it's about a couple of, it's about a father and daughter and their route to yes, if you like, I believe. Please mention this guy's all in one bar marks. Yes, at 7:10. We know Ian did mention that we're getting the show. Thanks very much. Right, so people, the Joseph Brown 3 Foundation's latest support anti-poverty is no hard to find. Just put Joseph Brown 3 into your search engine and you'll get the latest one. Okay.
Hi there. Sorry about that. It was one of my
So, as I was just saying, people will be able to get a grip of the Joseph Brown 3 Foundation's latest poverty report on the Joseph Brown 3 Foundation's website. Just put Joseph Brown 3 Foundation Scotland into your search engine, folks. You're right, Melanie. It was David phoning me to let him back into the green room. But no, that just shows you, folks, that your kind donations really, really do matter.
Yeah.
Really matter.
My goodness me, don't they half?
I go half. And David, I think we're moved into October. You get 3 charities to nominate. I think urban areas might be important this time.
Aye, okay. But obviously, look, our donations are coming from all over, right?
Yeah.
And I really do want to make sure that we cover as much of the areas we can. It's like how thin can you spread that scraping of butter, but still in all, it's got to go out there,
Aye.
So,
But the other thing about it is, David, is I've had a hell of a time trying to contact rural communities.
yeah.
People are sending me information. I'm leaving messages on answer phones and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting any reply from these people.
Yeah.
What
we're trying to do is, there are Facebook, food bank that are run by the Trussell Trust, right?
We'll try to avoid them, that's right.
Yeah, we try to avoid them because we feel like they're getting much heavier donations from several different locations, right? Not saying they're well off, but they're better off than the independent food banks, right?
I seen the news today that Hunt wants to stop benefits for people who won't work.
All right, okay.
And one of their ideas on raising money for tax cuts is to hammer people on benefits. Wow.
I honestly do not feel that Hunt and Sunak and James Cleverly and all that bunch are going to be too much of a problem for too much longer.
Right, let's move on to number 9 because we're rapidly coming to an end, David. And end of this particular programme, I haven't had a chance to get my dinger yet, but never mind. Yep. The arse is fell out of the housing market. The house prices dropped by 5.8%. What do you make of that?
That's just the consequence of the actions of the Bank of England.
Yep.
Simple as that. And what's happened is that Halifax, Northern Rock, and one other building society that I remember, they tried to buck the trend by putting out products which were down on the figure that the Bank of England were putting out.
Yeah,
right?
They were flying with mortgages at a lower rate than what the Bank of England paid.
What's happened is they'll have had an assault on their front door. People coming in to take up those deals that those bank building societies are doing. And basically what they've done is they've run out of road.
Right.
And eventually they've had to go, can't do it anymore. So therefore this is the top and bottom of it. People
your average wage, your average income earner's wage, 30% went on mortgages. Because the way things are going, it's now 38%, 40%. So how the mortgage companies are trying to deal with this to get first-time buyers to buy houses, because nobody's buying houses at this point in time, is they're offering mortgages that are running for 35 years to try and entice young people to buy houses.
This is not new around the world. In Hong Kong, the parents actually take on a mortgage for a house or a flat that is actually written in to be given over to the children. That's how they do it. That's how crazy this marketplace is. Okay, in the UK, it's been fairly straightforward. It's like they've kept it straight, but now it's just becoming ridiculous. And what's going to happen is the house prices are going to fall and fall and fall. So that nice big asset that you live inside, if you own your own home, it's going to be worth less and less money.
I've never seen my house as an asset, David. I just see it as a place where I live. A wee bit of advice to anybody out there that intends to buy a property rather than rent. Don't buy a property as an asset. You're wasting your bloody time.
Yeah.
Because one minute you'll be in plus equity, the next minute you'll be in negative equity. Nice one, Tom. Hashtag after 4 and 24.
Yeah. And then after that, you'll end up in an old folks' home, and what they'll do is they'll make you sell your house so that you can pay to be cared for. There you go.
But when Sarah and I were looking for a place to live, we weren't able to rental. We were looking at rental. The reason why I bought was it was cheaper. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, it was actually bloody cheaper.
Well, I've got a very good friend that she was living in a flat owned by her dad, and there was her dad's house and all the rest of it, right? she's had to sell both the flats she was in and also her dad's house to pay for her mum and dad living in a care home. And that's such a shame. It really is. You know.
You know, a lot of these wee rhymes in the comments here I'll get. What was that one? That last one there. Out the door in 24 and free in 24. What was the other one? Out the windy, it's time for Indy. I like that one. That's got a nice wee tune to it. But anyway, so the arse is falling at the house market basically because interest rates are that high. Young people don't have enough money to get in the housing market. So all these people who vote a house as an investment, get ready for a hurly-burly, and a lot of people are going to lose their bloody homes as we go.
Yeah, the thing is, though, if you look at it practically, right? Let's say everybody ends up in a situation where you can't pay for your house, right? There'll be some people that actually own their house outright. They've paid off the mortgage or the rest of it, right? But a lot of people will not be able to afford to live in the house. What happens then?
Hey, David, class action says don't tell the baby boomers the one about their house prices. David, I've not to tell you about your house price.
You calling me a baby boomer, by any chance?
The tail end of the boomers. I'm the front end of the forgotten generation, Gen X. I seem to be at it again. We'll get a Gen Z. There isn't a Gen Z. That's the tail end of Gen X. That's the Zennials. Wow. So everybody keeps forgetting about us, the Gen X. Thank fuck. That way they leave us alone. The boomers get it. The millennials get it. The Zennials get it. Whatever the hell they call them now. Yeah. But they leave us alone just as well because we're bloody dangerous. We know what it's like to live in both worlds, David, don't we? The technological one and the non-technological one.
Exactly.
And what's even better is we're inheriting the throne. So, wow, they're letting a bunch of feral animals like us take control. That explains that shower of shite in Westminster.
Right. Well, in the last few minutes, right, let's leave everybody with a good feeling, a good news story. Yeah, we've got the situation at the moment where the peak fares and all ScotRail services are scrapped as a.
And I've got a wee special message on this one for Maz. Maz. Yeah. I seen you popped up in the comments the other day there on the thread about this. That you want to know if you can get a rebate in your season ticket. Well, apparently yes, you can. So there's some good news, man. You can get a rebate on your ticket, your season ticket, but now it's just as cheap to rock up to a railway station at any point in time and buy a ticket.
Yeah.
That's if you get a ticket office, because that's Network Rail. Yeah. That's not much to do with ScotRail. Yeah. I don't think so anyway.
Well, ScotRail have got the trains that go on the rails. Network Rail have got the rails that the trains go on.
Yes, and just the ticket offices.
But really, that's such a good news story because there's so many trains for their daily life to get across the country. And we've got, as I said in last week's, if I just go back on my iPad, as we'll call it, Scotland has 1,372 miles of train track, right? And I expect every single one of you to spend your money getting this.
That is a very good point. It is a buyer's market for property for those who can sit on that as an asset for a long period of time.
Who do you think that's going to be? If you end up where you can't pay your mortgage and you get chucked out of the house, who's going to be buying your house?
It's Rich Tory who's then going to rent it back to you.
Yeah.
Actually, at this point in time, it looks like the banks are doing it.
Yeah.
They're taking the properties back and renting them out themselves because it's the only way to make any money off them and the market will go up. But back to ScotRail and ditching the peak tide travel fares. That's brilliant news for the Scottish people, the Scottish economy. Now, but in order for us to be successful, there's one message we have to get out there, and that is get out your car, at the park and ride, and get on the train. Yeah. Because if you don't use the train, then the peak fares will return.
Yeah, what they'll do is they'll do what they did to HS2 in London, is they'll just take the big machine and they'll just drive it straight into the ground and till it disappears. That's what will happen to your train service if you don't support it.
Billy, that's absolutely true. On the way out the door, I'll give you this one, Billy. History does teach us freedom only comes when you stop playing by the rules of your captor.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we're not playing by the rules of the captor, we're playing by the rules of democracy.
Yes.
And that's a different matter. What's my expert opinion on the situation with Fergus Ewing? I don't have an opinion. The old guard are leaving, the new guard's taking out. It's as simple as that. And the party that Fergus joined along with me and David already years ago, it's not the same party. For a start, it's much further to the left than when it was when David and I joined the party.
David, the gentleman has just turned up at the door. I need to go and catch him, okay?
Right. I'll round this one off for you, David. I'll kick you out and I'll round this one off for you. The party's not the same, and it's the young people who are going to be driving this forward. I'm sorry that Fergus doesn't feel the evolution of the party suits him. A lot of the time it doesn't bloody well suit me either, to be fair. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's going on these days, I don't understand. It's like the GRR thing, it never occurred to me. None of it. Never occurred to me at all. Right, anyway, folks, we've hit the hour mark. We hope you found this entertaining. We hope you found it informative. I'm sorry we didn't get any real rants out of me today, but I sort of ranted myself out earlier this week. You know. But on behalf of David and myself, thank you very much for tuning in in such great numbers. Thank you for your generosity again. As I say, we're working on getting this money out the door as quick as we can. And as we send it out, as you know, we will tell you where it's went. And we're trying to help as many communities as we can. So your generosity is unbelievable. And thanks for giving me a wee bit more understanding on how the benefit system actually works. Or how much you actually get. Because I had no idea, folks. None. I mean, I talk about these things without the real grasp of the reality of it. So for that, let's say, Clinton, yeah, I love you, man. The party that's no going for Indy. That's why Douglas Ross is storming at the Conservative Party, screaming at the conference, he's going to declare! He's going to declare! Hey! So as I say, thanks again, folks. Now remember these big events coming up. We've got the Edinburgh March, we've got the Chain of Freedom, and then we've got the Indy 2 Cafes charity night, where the money also goes to food banks, folks. So if you're in the Edinburgh area on the 4th of November, and you can get along to the Musselburgh Premier Inn, please come along. Either get a ticket at the door. I don't know how many it is, but contact Agnes Kerr at the Indy 2 Cafe Facebook page, and she'll let you know about ticket information and things like that. And as we get near the event, I'll let you know myself. Okay. Thanks, as I say, again for tuning in. Look after yourselves, folks, and thank you again. And we'll see you on Thursday at 4 o'clock. Be good, and if you can't be good, scalp it to a Tory.